This is the Fridge Podcast, the very best from our Kent Foundation special, KMFM Extra.
As with every show, we have a resident expert to answer your questions about starting up your own business. That's our resident expert tonight. It's Paul Barron from Kent Foundation. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hi.
It's good to have you on here. What questions do you get asked a lot in your job doing what you do?
We get a lot of questions asking us where people can get money from.
Yep.
And that's usually not a good question to start with, because money's hard to come by.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to do our best to answer your questions tonight, all of you that are texting in or phoning in. And while he's here, and he is the man that has the answers to your questions when it comes to starting up a business. So get in touch. We're going to take a call if that's all right with you, Paul.
Yep.
This is from Coral in Whitstable, I believe.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Hi, my name's Coral from Whitstable. I have an idea for a company that I've been wanting to start for ages, but I don't have a clue where to start. Money, marketing, help, where do I even begin? Silly question, but I need some direction, please.
End of message.
Good question.
Yeah, good question. Thanks for the call, Coral. First of all, what we need to do is to talk about what your idea is, and that's clearly something you don't want to talk about live on air in case somebody wants to steal that fantastic idea you might have.
Yeah.
So what we would do initially is meet with you. Maybe one of the members of staff from the Kent Foundation, one of our workers, would come along and sit down and talk to you about all the things you've mentioned, talk about money, talking about marketing, and a whole range of help and advice that you might be interested in getting from us.
Yeah, okay. Well, while we're on that subject, Lloyd has texted and said, what is a business plan? It's a very good question. We're going to be speaking about business plans a lot tonight, I'm figuring. And basically says, what would someone expect to see in a business plan? What would they expect to see, and what is it?
Well, first of all, don't get hung up on a business plan. It's something that you can form. And if you went to a bank and asked for a loan, they'd give you a form to fill in, and you should fill in their form in their way, answering all their questions if you want to borrow money from that particular bank.
Okay.
Each bank might have a different business plan, and that might be totally different from your plan of action, the way that you're going to achieve what you want to achieve.
Okay, but what would you expect to see in it as a generalisation?
I'd say something about costs, including any start-up costs, set-up costs you might have. You've also got to put in revenue costs. What's it actually going to cost you on a day-to-day basis? And what you've got to remember, when you've got all your costs going out, and it obviously depends on what type of business you have, you've got to make some kind of a profit. You've got to eat. You've got to put petrol in your car if you've got a car, or you've got to pay rent for your flat, or even if it's giving your parents some money to live in their house, you've got to ensure that you've got enough money coming in that will cover everything you're going to spend. And sometimes what you're going to spend might be literally advised by how much money you've got coming in. So you might have to draw back on your plan.
This is the Fridge Podcast, KMFM Extra.
So tonight, joined by an expert from Kent Foundation to talk about entrepreneurship and starting your own business, it's Paul Barron. Thank you for joining us, Paul.
Hi again.
Right, so we've had some texts and emails, and I'm going to read this one. Hey, KMFM Extra, does it cost to see Kent Foundation?
No, in fact, we're set up as a charity. We do a lot of fundraising. We apply for all sorts of funding bids to help pay for our services. Everything that we do is free to young people.
Wow, that's fantastic. And this other one here says, hi, Davey B. Sounding good tonight, guys. I'm thinking of starting my own business in computer repairs. Would I be able to get funding for this type of business? Any advice would be great. That's from Mark in Thanet.
Yeah, you've got to decide how much money you want and whether or not you do actually want money. And I don't know anything about computer repairs. But why do you want money? Do you want money to try and publicise yourself? Do you want money to buy equipment? Do you need a room? A lot of people start their businesses with no money, working out of the bedrooms, working out of a shed. And what you need to do is to ensure that you're doing the right things at the right time. If you get through to the startup stage, there are a couple of organisations, and we're one of them. We could give you a test trading grant, which would be free. It's not a loan, it's a gift. We don't give many away, but we do to some people. But we have to make sure that we've worked through your business idea with you, that it's a good idea, that it's got a good chance of working, and then we'll be there with you.
So what kind of grant would you give? Is it only for genius ideas that you think, do you know what, that's going to go places, or for things like computer repairs, which there are a lot of out there, would you see that and actually invest in the person because actually he might make something of it because he's quite good at it or something? How do the grants? What's your criteria?
Yeah, the grant is to the person and not to the business. It's not anything to do with the idea, other than it has to be an idea that's going to work. We call it a test trading grant.
Okay.
And so it's for the first 3 months that young person is trading.
Yeah.
And we figure that you can get by on about £600 a month.
Right.
And
okay.
so if you're going to run your business for, hopefully forever, or certainly for a few years, we'll give you this grant for the first 3 months just because we know that's when cash flow is difficult.
Okay.
So, for example, you start your business, we could give you 600 quid.
Okay.
If you come back to us and then we know you can demonstrate that you're still running your business, we'll give you another £600 for your second month and the same for the third month. So it's about £2,000 over the first 3 months just to see you over until you get your cash flow sorted out.
Interesting. I can imagine after tonight and after saying that, you're going to hear from a lot of people listening to the radio right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do want to get in touch with the guys from Kent Foundation,
This is the Fridge Podcast, KMFM Extra.
we've got some texts, emails, we've got some questions on the phone, all to do with starting up business. So let me just read this one here. Nick from Canterbury says, "Hi Paul, with all this talk about funding tonight, can anyone get a grant that comes to see you? How's it decided? Who does and doesn't receive a grant?"
Yeah, there's no exact formula to it, and we actually give out about 10 grants a year.
Right.
And it really depends upon you and your... see if the idea is good enough, see if you've got an understanding. You've got to convince us, really, that you've got an understanding that the money's going to be spent in the right way, or that your business is going to be successful rather than money being spent, because, frankly, we don't care where it's being spent so long as your idea is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And you do that by meeting with us, and we'll discuss it with you. Now, it could be me, but it's quite often one of my colleagues as well.
Yeah.
And we start off with this initial meeting, and we discuss what your idea is. And within the meeting, or the first or the second meeting, you might change your idea. You might come up with some other ideas. You might refine that idea. It might be such a good idea that it's really going to fly.
Yeah.
But it's about you explaining to us that it's a good idea, and then what we think is matching your enthusiasm and determination.
You've hit the nail on the head there. It's about them convincing you. How would they convince you? Is there any good tips you can give for them to come in prepared? What tips would you give them to convince you?
Your idea's got to be thought through. And I'm not going to tell you all about a business plan, because some people will say, I know a very, very wealthy millionaire, and he says, I've never written a business plan in my life. But what he always has had is a good idea and an understanding himself that he knows it's going to work and it can work.
Sure.
So that's what we're looking for, with you having an understanding from the top to the bottom, that you know how your business is going to work, that you know where the money's coming from, you know who you're going to sell it to, you know that somebody's going to buy it, there's a market out there, and you've got to be fairly convincing yourself that you understand it and you're going to make it work, and then we can be there with you.
Okay, fantastic. Another question here. That's from Chelsea. Hi Paul, just want to ask, what is actually your role at Kent Foundation? Do you make the choices, and do you need to pay the money back on a grant?
Hi Chelsea. Well, first of all, it's a grant. It's not a loan. We don't give loans. If we give you the money, it's there for good. And as I explained to a previous caller, it's based over a 3-month period. And if you can't convince us after the first month, if you can't demonstrate that you're not still running your business, you won't get the second part of the grant, and subsequently you won't get the third part of the grant.
Sure.
So you don't have to give anything back. It's a gift, and it's there for you.
Okay. What's your background in business then? What's your area of expertise?
I'm the director of the Kent Foundation. My expertise is putting the organisation together, and leading the staff team, and making sure that as an organisation we function. My background is in working with young people rather than working in business.
Yeah.
We rely very heavily on our business mentors. We recruit and train expert business mentors from business, and then we match those people with young people, and that's where you get the main part of your advice from.
Okay, so basically tonight, if you're listening, this is the guy you need to impress. So be listening to every word he says, write it down, because if you are going to be going in to see him or one of his colleagues to get a grant, you'll need to know all of this information before going in. We're going to take a call now, if that's okay with you. Here we go.
Please leave a message after the tone.
Hi kmfmextra, it's Ruben from Maidstone. If I want to start my own business, which I do, where can I find info about grants and help? I don't need a lot of money, but I need some funding to get going. And I hope there are people who will help me, as I have got a great idea. Any website or ideas, please?
End of message.
It's a good one.
Yeah, sure. Well, you can go to our website to start with. That's www.kmffoundation.org, and you can email us through that, or you can also follow us on Twitter or on the Facebook, and we will guarantee to at least respond to you, and hopefully, as we do with we have with all the people who've contacted us up to now, we'll arrange a meeting with you.
Yeah.
Now, at that meeting, we're going to agree together. It's about us agreeing together. Nobody's going to give you any money. What you've got to recognise is that if somebody's going to give you money, it's a risk.
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure that the risk is not all upon the burden of that risk is not on the person who's going to lend you the money, that you're going to share some of that risk. So that's why it's a partnership all the way through. There are some organisations that will give you money, and you can always go to your bank, and banks do give some money in some cases, particularly if it's a good idea.
This is the Fridge Podcast, KMFM Extra.
The first one, it's an email actually. It's from Kim in Gillingham. It's for you, Paul. It says, "Hi guys, I would love to have my own cake shop and catering business, and then go on to actually owning a cake shop. I don't have an experience in the catering industry. Will this affect me getting the grant, even if I have a really solid business plan?"
Well, we wouldn't start by looking at your business plan. We'd discuss your business idea, and doing cakes, whether you're doing it from home or a shop, could be two different things. A shop is a big ask. A shop, you've got to have the capital outlay and all the equipment and everything. Lots of people start businesses in the part-time, and a small sort of lifestyle business like producing cakes or fairy cakes or whatever for friends and neighbours and building it up that way is a really good way of doing it.
Yeah.
So that'd be something we'd really like to discuss with you, and you can get in touch with us at any time. We can go through our Facebook or Twitter accounts, or email www.kmffoundation.org, and the first thing we do is arrange to meet with you and chat through your idea and take it from there. But at this stage, what we would say is let's not think too much about the money. Let's think about the idea and how you're going to put it into place.
Yeah. Do you meet with everyone that gets in touch with you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Well, unless they go missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we always get there.
Fantastic. That's good to know. Right, and another question here. This is from Ryan in Hythe. It's a good question. What type of person do you need to be to run your own business? Good question.
I think, Ryan, you've done the first thing to prove that you could be a successful business person by getting in touch and doing something about it. We've done a little bit of research on this, and we're always doing research at the foundation, and we're going into this in a little bit more detail right at the moment with students from Greenwich University doing a research project for us. But some of the basic things about determination and hard work.
Yeah.
And if you don't have some of those things, you might have to have a little bit of vision. You've certainly got to have resilience, that what some people say knockback ability.
Yeah.
Because you'll certainly come along some pitfalls. There will be some really down times for you,
Sure.
and that's when you've got to pick yourself up.
Okay, interesting. That's really, really good advice. And to get more advice like that, of course, they can get in touch with you. Just give us the web address again.
Yes, www.kentfoundation.org.
Fantastic. And we'll have all that information. Remember, if you haven't had a chance to write it down. It's quite easy to remember, but if you've forgotten, it's okay. It's going to be on our facebook.com/KMFMextra page, along with everything that we've spoken about this week. So just finally, I want to hear about any success stories you've had with regards to your grants, because I know you said earlier you've only been doing them for 3 years, but you must have some stories that are where they're going well for you.
Yeah, we've got one that's quite opportunistic, really. The guy who's just opening his second shop this week, actually, in Canterbury. He opened a shop last May in Ashford, selling sort of electronic goods, games, gaming, used and reconditioned and used articles. And he was going so well, he's opening his second shop on Saturday. It's CEX. He's in Ashford, and he's opening his second shop in St George's, the high street in Canterbury this weekend.
That's fantastic. And you specifically deal with young people, am I right?
Yeah. Anybody up to the age of 30. So we're quite flexible on the age group, really. But we wouldn't give any grants to anybody over 30. We'd like to go. We think the primary age for this is kind of 19 to 24. But we get a lot of inquiries from younger people. And we're doing some research at the moment on what's the best services we can give for young people aged 15, 16, and 17. Yeah. Which is something that a lot of schools don't want us to do, because they want young people to pass exams and not start businesses. So we're looking at the best way of doing that at the moment.
This is the Fridge Podcast, the very best from our Kent Foundation special, KMFM Extra.